Testament in the middle of a European tour. Chuck Billy, how are you doing?
It's going good. This is, we've been out 1 week now. And, I think now we're getting, like, in the touring mode, getting the set pretty tight. Everybody feels pretty good. Everybody feels pretty healthy, so.
What's the status for the band now? I mean, it's been ages since you released a new studio album with new songs, and now you're on tour. Shouldn't you be in the studio recording a new album, or have you already been there?
We're writing a new record, and we actually had booked this tour, I don't know, maybe a year ago. So this tour has already had planned, so we've been writing, and after this tour is done, there's no more touring. We're going to go home and just concentrate on finishing the record.
How many songs have you written by now? Are you writing while you're on tour?
No, it's harder to stay focused that way. We have about 4 songs that are pretty solid right now. And then, they're at the stage where we're ready to do the demo for those. And then I'm sure we'll change them again and again, until it's time. But we're just at that very first stage.
Is it possible to say what kind of an album your next album will be? Would it be like a typical Testament album? Do you have a title in mind?
No title yet, but I think it's going to be... It's hard to say. I mean, every record we do, it's hard to say where it's going to go until we're into writing it, And right now, a lot of it's leaning like towards the gathering kind of stuff, really, really aggressive, fast stuff.
What's the lineup like now? I mean, there have been a lot of changes during your career. Is it a stable lineup now? What's the drummer situation?
Yeah, we have a stable lineup. John Allen, he was playing drums for us. He still does, except for he couldn't make it on this tour because his daughter's ill, and he couldn't leave home. So John Tempesta came out and was doing the tour in the States, some of the shows, and then this tour. And actually, John Tempesta is actually writing the new record with us. So he's been coming up to the Bay Area because he lives in Los Angeles. So he comes up to the Bay Area and we work, for like a week at a time. And then he goes home and then me and Eric get together and work some stuff out and bring him back up. And then, so it's kind of a slow pace because everybody lives far away from each other. So we kind of gather the material, then get together weeks at a time. So.
You still have the base in the Bay Area, San Francisco?
Yeah, in Oakland. That's where the studio is. It's always been there.
You were one out of many bands doing quite well on the thrash scene in the early 80s. What's the music scene like now in San Francisco and the Bay Area?
I think it's pretty healthy. It's still pretty good. There's more clubs that are opening up, because it was where a lot of them were shutting down. But now there's a lot more clubs sprouting open, and it's still a good vibe, good scene, especially even the thrash scene from the 80s. There's still bands that are still... that's a big part of it. We just didn't do anything once I got sick, and then Eric was working on his Dragon Lord project. So by the time we got together to work on the Testament record, it just took a long time.
There were a lot of rumors. How serious was your cancer?
I was lucky that I didn't die from it, but, went through all the chemotherapy and open heart surgery. And
scary stuff. You're totally recovered now?
Right now, yeah.
Okay, how about your ex-guitar player, James Murphy? He's got cancer too. Do you keep in touch with him, and how's his situation?
Fine. He had... a tumor removed, and ever since I talked to him, he's been fine. He's just still going through. He takes medicine, and stuff. But he had he had a tumor in his brain. It was a lot more. He had from what he went through, his surgery was pretty intense.
Do you feel that people still discover Testament?
I see a lot of young fans. There's a lot of young fans, and there's still older fans. I see at every show someone wearing a shirt that we haven't sold in 10 years that still looks brand new, that, they broke out, for the show. So there's those, and there's always new fans.
When you pick songs for a show now, do you pick tracks from all your records, or do you focus on your the latest years, the first years, or do you cover everything?
I'd say a lot more of the earlier years and the new record. You know, there's a couple records that we kind of brush by, you know.
And those are?
Well, the one is the Ritual record, you know, that was like the end of the band's, the original band's, I guess, time together. You know, that's when we all split up, and I think that was the record that kind of wasn't like a unity kind of thing, you know. So I think that's where kind of the band, everybody went their own way in the band. That's when we all split up, and so we don't play that kind of those songs.
What's your favorite album from your back catalog? Is it possible to pick the one Testament album that you think is outstanding?
Well, for me, just right out of the back's probably the Low record. I think just the way it sounds and the songs and just the playing, everything on it. I think it was where, I guess, Testament, you know, finally got the songs and the whole feelings. I mean, it's a really good record where you can just listen to it as a record, you know. To me, you know, it's probably one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite to do. You know, we got to do it up here and go down to L.A. and, you know, it was a fun process too.
Is it possible to say when your next album will be released?
We want to get in the studio by hopefully maybe March of next year.
In the first place, who inspired you to make music? I mean, when you started in Testament in the early 80s, who were your favorites then?
Well, definitely back then, still Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford and James Hetfield and Ronnie James Dio, you know, guys like this.
So you're happy now that Rob is back in Priest again?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It'll be really good.